happened and how it happened. How, I cannot tell you, but I can tell you what I observed. On Saturday, the 8th of January, I left my home at about 1 o'clock to pay a condolence visit to His Royal Majesty Eze Achia Merengwa, who lost his mother. I had it that morning and insisted I was going to see him. In fact, I dragged your friend and my friend, the local government chairman, to go with me because it was from him I had. As I got to his place, he was just returning from Omaha. He joined me and we went. After the condolence, I dropped him off and went to Abia. After about 20 minutes to 8, I could extrapolate the time from the time I called my wife. I was at Mboto, just by Eastern Poly, when I called my wife to say I was on my way back. And if I called my wife at about 7:37, it wouldn't take me more than 3 minutes to get here. Wheeled in, as the driver did, towards my gate. All I had was, Daddy, there's some boys here. And the next thing, Daddy, they have gone, pump action. And the next thing we had was shooting. And I said, can you try and turn, reverse back into the road? Then I saw him bending and shouting, oh, they have hit me, Daddy, they have hit me. He managed to engage the gear, screeched back onto the road. You see, our road has become the express now.
Yes.
For what's happening at the OCC, even the luxurious bus is going to Lagos by this road. It's a very busy road. So he reversed into the road. He didn't have a hand to engage the drive key. I leaned forward, engaged it for him. And I realized there was an oncoming vehicle just by the junction, and he was swerving left and right. I moved over to behind his seat and held the steering and told him just throttle. Less than half a mile ahead, I said, stop, let me drive. He said, no, Daddy, if they're following us, they will catch us. So I navigated the vehicle till we got to Ezenkama's palace in front of it. Then he agreed and came down. I helped him to the back seat and drove. With the burning of the police station at Omo, we no longer have a police station here. And that's a very dangerous thing. And it was one of the things I raised with the Commissioner of Police when I went to see her. We started looking for more of a vigilante who were nowhere to be found. It came to mind to call Eze Moses of Omoika vigilante. And then I started driving back. But as we stopped at Nkama's place, the first person I called came to my mind. There's no police station. The only one who could direct being the chief security officer of the state is the governor. So I called him. The two numbers, none went. I called his ADC, incidentally, in front of whose house I was.
Yeah. So
I called him the third time, fourth time, fifth time he picked up. Of course, in all the shock and things, I started screaming at him, why don't you pick calls? Have I ever called you like this before? And he said, oh, Dave, sorry, what happened? I explained to him. He screamed. And then called me back and said they were calling the Abia State Security Control. A few minutes later, he called again and said he had sent me the number. I should give them description, which I did. And of course, no one from that team had arrived. We reversed, started coming back. I saw that youths had gathered in front of my gate from my village. And we drove in. 5 minutes after that, Eze Moses and his men arrived in their convoy of bikes. And it was him who said, your driver is dying. There are bullets in his neck. And there were 4 pellets lodged in his neck. And I saw his eyes was getting leery, even though he was still speaking. I started calling Dr. Ronald Alozie. Is that the only decent hospital we have in the area? His number wasn't going. So Eze and his team took him away to a facility where the bullets were removed. And what I couldn't understand for the life of me, if not the grace of God, is that all the bullets fired at the vehicle, my driver had about 50-something pellets removed from him. When I saw the boy from the front seat, I couched behind the front seat. You will see the vehicle is still out there. The seat where I was, if I was still sitting here, all the bullets would have been on my chest. But I was looking at the guy shooting, but I can't get a good view of him. It was getting a bit dark. The first one to shoot was the one near the driver. A diminutively small young man. And he shot. Maybe the force of the weapon pushed his hand up. He didn't hit the vehicle. Then the other one opened up, and what I could only describe as rapid fire. The first two bullets, these vehicles come with 2 panes of glass, glasses together. Just shattered it a bit. It was still in place. The next one, 2 glass all over the place in the vehicle. The third one caused all the damage, as you will see, with the pellets all over the vehicle. The fourth one, anyway, by then we were running. I don't know what happened. And it can only be God's grace that I am alive to tell the story today. In the morning, when the vigilante people came back, they realized there was another person shooting. And not with a pump action, with an AK. Because they found live rounds of AK outside there. So if God had not jammed the AK scent, we may have been telling a different story this morning. The live rounds are there. I cannot understand. I can't fathom why anyone would want to kill Ahamdi Nweke. I've not killed before. I don't even believe I have an enemy. And what everyone is saying is that if they were robbers or kidnappers, they would not be shooting to kill me. So that these people were definitely on a very dangerous mission, and their intentions could not be said to be good ones towards me. And it brings me to the thought, why, if this is really politically motivated, where is it coming from? If somebody who wishes to run for an office, offices are supposed to be called to service. Why would you kill to go and serve people? It doesn't make sense to me. But whatever it is, whoever it is left with them and God. People ask, are you not? Actually, the commissioner of police asked me, where are you staying now? I said, in my house. He said, this man. You mean you went back to that place you were from? I said, yes, madam, I went back to my house. And by the way, the commissioner of police in Abia State is a sterling woman.
Yes.
Very compassionate, made several calls. I have sent her men here. You see there's a lot of reconstruction at my gate. All the things they told us to do are the things I'm putting in place. She didn't sweep it under the carpet. And the anger with which I went to the police station, that I hadn't seen anyone, I was completely disarmed by someone genuinely concerned about the safety of the people in that state, in the state where she is working. And I thank God for someone like that. In your introduction, you mentioned Abia being the safest place. If you see what's happening in places like Ebony, Anambra, don't even go to Imo.
Yeah.
We can't understand the complexity of what's happening in Imo. It would be right, perhaps, to say that Abia is the safest state, security-wise. I couldn't disagree with that. What has happened to me, as far as I'm concerned, is not commonplace. Even if it is political killing, it's not something we have experienced. I ran for governorship of Abia State in 2007 when I returned to Nigeria. Since then till now, I haven't seen or heard of this kind of dastardly acts being perpetrated by people. I would still say that Abia is a place to come and work and invest and do your business without fear of such hideous crime being shown to one. But in all of this, I give him all the praise. Even if I had an intention, and I have declared, I haven't declared, many people haven't, would that be a reason to kill someone? In the attempt to change the narrative for better in Abia State in 2015, the press played a key role in what happened in Abia State. I ran for Senate then. If the truth be told, I probably beat my friend, the sitting governor, for Senate, Abia Central. There are still calls for me to run again for Senate. Some people are saying run for governorship. I'm not going to do that. If I am going to run for any office and consider it seriously, it probably will be the Senate, but I haven't declared. Abia, in relation to me, started in 2005 when I came home, effectively running for governorship of Abia State, and that was the title that people gave then. Then people thought it was prophetic. He would bring peace to Abia. I had hopes of changing the narrative earlier in Abia in 2007, and I won the election. So that's the Abia thing. In my little way then, without actually any intention for politics, I had helped quite a lot of people with scholarships. I have quite a number of people who have gone to university from secondary school, from 1989 when my father died. I established the Nweke Memorial Trust Fund. I was still in England then, and my father, being a retired missionary teacher in the north, which is the reason most of my siblings, including my older brother, were born in the northern part of the country. During the program, the Civil War, we all returned home. Sounds a little funny with no knowledge of Igbo language then. And after the war, my father started teaching at School Road Primary School, Abia, and eventually retired from government primary school, where the cemetery market is. Given that he was so involved in encouraging people then to go to school, in all of this area, he was probably the only one who attended what was called standard then. I thought, what could I do in his honor that will reflect the persona, the person of my father, and I thought encouraging people to go to school. And I think it's probably the best gift you can give anyone. If you give them money, it will fritter away. Any other thing you give ages and dies off. But education goes with you to the grave. So I decided, okay, we started the Nweke Memorial Trust Fund, giving scholarships to local people here. Many of them followed that and went to university. And after running for even the governorship election, so it wasn't, and those things were being done long before I thought I would be involved in the madness called politics here. If anyone told me, even in 2003, that I would be back in Nigeria, leaving my comfort zone in England to come and participate in politics, I would ask them to have their head examined. But when you come home, you keep coming home, and things are not how it should be. And there was pressure from people I would call political leaders then to come and contribute. Given, of course, that I was already involved in Britain advising the Office of the UK Deputy Prime Minister on social sector housing issues. I was then a justice for the Inner London Commission of the Peace, did my adult court, specialized in the youth court. By the year 1998, I had been appointed to the Inner London Crown Court to hear appeals from decisions of magistrates on youth court criminal matters. I wasn't short of things to do. I was comfy. But then that urge when I was called upon to come and help in my own place brought me back to Nigeria. As for platform, I am a member of the All Progressive Grand Alliance, a BOT member and that. And the reasons I left the PDP, which is the lack of internal democracy, has not changed. And I think that the time has come for us to begin to take a regional approach to politics. People keep saying we need to be the political party at the center. No, it doesn't matter. Look at Anambra, how well it is doing. But for the presidential election, they aligned. Then, with the presidency, we didn't have our own strong, unquote, candidates then. If you look at all the agitation for separation, it is because people, especially the young people, and quite frankly, I would say every genuine Igbo man doesn't feel happy with what we have as Nigeria today. But because many of them are feeding fat from it, they are happy to keep quiet. But for how long are we going to work that way? If the administration was working well, both from the federal and state levels, the level of separatist agitation that we are seeing would not be happening, or at least not to the extent that we are seeing now. So platform-wise, I will, if I do decide to run under Abia. It is party people. Let us pull together and change the narrative in the Southeast first and foremost, and then see where we go from that. When we left Nigeria, Nigeria was doing a lot better than most European countries. Nobody wanted to go there and stay back. But the spiral decline in the economic fortunes of Nigeria as a nation and the states that had unimaginative leaders forced our people to go back to Europe, America, Canada, and stay back. The narrative to come and help and make things better actually is the compelling thing. And the situation has not got any better since I returned to run for governorship. And I have looked at the situation and looked at my competencies. In other climes, you find out that the lawmakers are people who are versed in the law. I am a barrister of the UK in a temple. I am well versed in law. I believe that someone like me, involved in lawmaking, will have a lot to contribute in making laws that will serve our people better. That is one of the compelling reasons. I have the skills, I have the background, I have the competencies, and I have an empathy with the suffering of our people. What better motivation would anyone have to serve than those? Orjius Okalo had run for governorship, and the Abia Charter of Equity recognized only 2 divisions. Funnily enough, it was Moses Ogbonna that got me my copy of Abia Charter of Equity. And we analyzed it then and looked at it. Abia North haven't gone. And Ogbonna, of course, eventually, now a different state, haven't gone, which was also part of the Abia North then. It was the turn of the Abazon, because then it was the old Omai division and the old Abba division. Any other thing people impute into it is a creation of convenience. It was just those 2 zones. How you then juggle it within your zone, like in our zone too, old Abba zone, although for our brothers, there is also a cry that the majority being Ngwa will marginalize Ngwa. And if anyone does things sensibly, there will be a time he would call on somebody from Okwa to say, or encourage looking at issues of equality of opportunity to come and vie. But mine in all of this is actually looking at competencies, looking at ability to discharge the roles of the office one is seeking to run. And I have no doubt that both in the north and in the south, there are people ably qualified to give service in any office that one thinks of. So if someone comes out who has the capacity and the competencies, they should be encouraged to run for office. We have got to the situation in Abia State that if you bring someone from Yoruba land to come and be governor of Abia State, someone like me may not fight it, because we couldn't go lower than we are currently as a state in terms of performance. Most certainly the worst performing in the Southeast. Umuye Community Primary School has more teachers than pupils. And this is probably one of the greatest schools in the world in terms of the ratio of teacher to students. But I don't think that was done as a design to assist the students. It's because the standard of education has fallen so badly. Parents are taking their children to primary schools, unfortunately many of which are not actually properly supervised. And next to the primary school is the SDA church, which again, I'm sure, propelled by the poor quality of education in the public sector, started their own school. I would say that 99% of the pupils in this primary school have now moved over to that school. Those who are not there are trekking as far as Homoba to attend school. Why? Inadequate provisions. And some people are saying the teachers are not teaching. If teachers are owed these huge amounts of money in arrears, and quite frankly, of all the countries that have been in this world, Nigeria, and in particular Abia State, is the only way when somebody will be owing you money, and you dress up in the morning and go to work. They owe you for 2 months, you're coming. They owe you for 1 month, you're coming. They owe you for over 1 month, you're coming. Wow. We are a people from another planet. And I praise them. So when you look at that, the educational system is really zilch. And you asked in relation to the current administration. Most of these are inherited. This school has not been running well since 1999. So you can't blame it entirely on the person there. And that's not to make an excuse for him. He can bring further improvement to see that the schools are working properly. Secondly, the health sector. In our entire local government, the only hospital we have, bless him, is the one by Dr. Ronald Alozie. He has one in Umoba and the one at Nweke, although the one at Nweke seems to be pulling, when people have accidents, they go from Umoba to that place. So this entire local government has no hospital. I have approached the government. The Umuhia Health Center here, if you look at it, it's got the roofs all collapsed. And it is a facility that is very dear to my heart. That hospital was built during the Sam Bagwa administration. And incidentally, when it was built, it was called Ologu Helen's Hospital. Helen being my late mother. She was the one who attracted that hospital and was given the contract to build it. That health center there, apart from the 2 large blocks and other facilities at the back, has midwife and nurses' quarters on the right, all of which are in such dilapidation that there's no roof on it. The current government has assured us that they are coming to do something. In fact, we are waiting for them. They were supposed to have started work on it in November. That hasn't happened. We understand there are some monies they are looking for, which hopefully, if it comes this new year, they will use it to do that. But again, how many other local communities are without such facilities? It encourages me that the governor saw that and listened to our cry and actually decided not only to improve it, but to make it into a cottage hospital. If that happens, we'll praise God.
Yes, sir.
I'm also going to say something about infrastructure that some people are going to fry me for. I said it in an interview at the Abia office last year. I am perhaps the most notable Ngwaman that objected to Ibazu's administration. And my argument then was the way he came and where he was coming from. He would not have the latitude to make executive decisions as governor. If we are changing the narrative, it has to be complete. Let's start from a new slate. And people assisted, including members of the third room, yourself. And the election in 2015, if the truth be told, Abga won it by a tsunami margin victory. Although it wasn't the wish of God that would be in office at that time. Look at road infrastructures. Last year I mentioned that Ibazu surprised someone like me with the road networks he has built. The fact that somebody has built things and you are in opposition, I don't like the politics of saying nothing has been done when even the silliest person in the street will see that it has been done. My road, this road until Ibazu came in, was not motorable since 1980 something. When Niger Cat did the very first road,
in the 70s.
No maintenance, it went completely. To go to Abia, I couldn't go from here to Abia, which now takes me only 8 minutes from here to Obo Hill. I would have to navigate the bad roads and join the Nweke and continue to Abia. This road has been done. If you look out beyond the primary school, you see another major road that joins the express. From Nweke, the road is also being done to join Nweke. Yes, it is true that if you see some roads in Abia which were built under this administration, they have not lasted. They have not proved the test of time. One is the Fox Road. Was it built? Yes. But the bulk stops at the head. There are people who have the responsibility to go and see that these roads, before they are handed over, were done properly. There is the Osusu Road. You and I will remember Osusu Road, actually from the 70s, was no longer motorable. Under this same administration, it has been done. I actually was surprised when I took that road last year. If you look at the road in front of me where this intersects, at Obo Hill, Duke Ebu Road, the one that goes to Ehere. And so when you look at all of that, honestly, I would be telling a barefaced lie to say, okay, Zia has not built roads. That is not true. And it is the kind of encouragement I want to give our people. Play politics of saying the truth. There are so many areas he hasn't done well. Use those as your argument with the public. If you're telling someone who lives on this road, okay, Zia has done so badly, he did not build any road, he will be looking at these politicians. Let's tell the truth and still get what we want. First and foremost is to go there and make the roads. I'm a lawyer. I am in touch with my people. I will further assess the needs of the communities that I represent in finding out where there are gaps in the law. I'm not just coming in and saying I'm going to make law on this. You look at how it affects every politics is local, and as needs are local. But apart from doing that, I will also be looking at making laws that will strengthen the establishment and the nation states, as it were, if given the opportunity to do so. And as I have said, I will not shy away if opportunity presents itself to bring dividends of democracy to my people, whatever that may be at the time. We live in a state where both appointments and selection for elective offices is made on the basis not of competence and ability to discharge the roles of the office they are going for. These positions or elective opportunities are given as a reward for your brigandage, for your ability for toggle in assisting the administration at the time or the party at the time to achieve what they want to do. When such people get into positions where they have no skills or competencies, you can't necessarily blame them. You can't give what you don't have. You blame the system that threw them out. The policy, if implemented into law, that would have made Nigeria even more democratic, it's exactly what they had proposed before, but now going back on it. Consensus candidature. Where are we coming from? Is it a democratic principle? It is not. So you have a situation where, rather than veto the refusal of the president to do certain things, you find out that the National Assembly has bent over backwards to do exactly the opposite of what they had recommended as a way forward to Nigeria. Evil persists because good men do nothing. The more of you and I get up to challenge the situation, the greater the chances that we will arrive in the end at what we wish. But leaving it to say it is a dirty game, let's leave it, then we lose our right to complain. We'll go in there, assert ourselves. Those of you who know me in Abia State know that I state my mind, and I'm not afraid to stand alone if I am standing on principle. Abia is coming to change the narrative. A majority of the progressive-minded people are joining the party. We are cropping people who are dissatisfied with what's happening in APC. And of course, the APC in Abia State and PDP are exactly the same people, with the same ideology. Now coming back to your question, 2015, Abga did not defend their vote. I'm not going to say the people are wrong, but let's look at the role of the party and the role of the electorate. And I am heartened in all of this by what has happened with the youth agitation all over the country, with NSAS and all the other things that followed. The youth have become more enlightened and more vociferous in expressing their wishes and aspirations. In Abia, for example, where the youth realized that they had a major role to play by defending their votes, they voted and stayed back, which is why Prestige could not lose his position. There was every attempt to dislodge him. The second one, the same thing happened, because the youth came out, the electorate voted and stayed back to see that there were no shenanigans with their votes. Elsewhere, people voted and ignorantly left the place to this, I don't want to be rude, to these people who have mastered how to overturn the wishes of the electorate. Now they know better. Now there is education going around by political parties. And of course, the third rank. We cannot change the narrative in this state or Nigeria without members of the third rank, which are you people. Your role is perhaps even more important than that of the politicians. But unfortunately, the corruption has pervaded every sector in the country, that journalists who were revered and feared for their bluntness in telling the truth started pandering to the whims and caprices of political paymasters. If you wear your old garment of truth and honor, your role in changing the narrative for better in our state is indispensable. And of course, I urge and encourage all of you to come back and do that.